Hello and welcome back to Magnetic Marketing. I am your host, Lexi Forbes, and today I am so happy to be talking about how I'm growing on Substack. I recently just hit 100 subscribers, and within 3 minutes of hitting 100 subscribers, I hit 103. So I'm growing very quickly, and I'm very, very grateful for that. And so I thought in this episode, I can pull back the curtain on how I'm strategically growing my audience on Substack while transitioning away from Instagram. And so I'm going to share my exact 3 month plan that I'm currently in the middle in. I'm going to share what's working, what's not working, and the mindset shifts that I've had to make along the way. So if you've been thinking about using Substack to build your brand or connect with your audience, which, hello, how many of us are trying to connect with our audience these days? Then this episode is going to be for you. I know a lot of people have questions about Substack. So here's a couple of things that I first want to invite you to do. Number one, if you are not following me on Substack right now, I want to encourage you to hit that button in the description. Go ahead and follow me. And once you become a subscriber, which you can do that for free, you can join the chat room feature. And in the chat room feature, you can ask me questions about how to use Substack. How am I using Substack? How am I transitioning from Instagram? Why am I transitioning from Instagram? And how am I monetizing Substack and all of that? How am I finding clients and all those things? You can ask all those questions inside of that chat room feature. And I would love to hear from you. You can also directly message me by going to my Substack and clicking on message. So I want to hear from you. So that's the first thing. The second thing is I still will be present on Instagram for now as it stands. So if you would like to hit me up on in the DMs, then go ahead and do that as well. The link is down in the description. So let's talk about why I decided to leave Instagram and refocus my energy on Substack. So like I said, as it stands right now, I'm still going to maintain an account on Instagram, but I'm starting to look at it similar to Facebook, where a lot of us have Facebook accounts from our college days. We still keep it up, just keep up with our family, all of that, but we're not really there. And I feel like eventually Instagram is going to become that for me. I just am starting to intuitively tell that social media is changing. The expectation of social media is changing. And I feel like after the TikTok ban, it really created mistrust amongst a lot of people. We started to realize how fragile this all is and how easy it is for us to lose connection to our people overnight. You could have 20,000 followers, you could be making $10,000 a month, and the minute that Mark Zuckerberg on these internet streets pulls the plug, honey, you will be making $0. Unless, of course, you make sure that you have your business elsewhere and that you diversified your income and it's not just coming from Instagram or TikTok or YouTube or whatever. But the point is that for most of us, we are focusing our efforts on Instagram because it's been a successful platform. It's allowed and given so many people the opportunity to create successful businesses. So most of us are on that platform. However, the problem is, again, we don't own, not again, I didn't say this, we don't own the audience that we have on that platform. And so that means that there will be times when Instagram is down or there is the potential for Instagram to disappear. And when that happens, you don't have emails, phone numbers, anything to text or to email or connect with your audience outside of Instagram. That is pretty scary. And I think for most of us, we know that to be true, but we haven't lived that until the TikTok ban happened. That's when it opened up our eyes to realizing, wait a second, this could all go away overnight. So one of the things that I fell in love with Substack is immediately, in order for someone to subscribe, they have to share their email with me. And I love that because then whenever I want to leave Substack or if something happens, I can just go into Substack, download the emails to an Excel sheet and export it into Flowdesk or MailChimp or whatever other newsletter sites that you have. And I want to also, before I get too deep into this. We're already 5 minutes in, but my dogs are here. And thankfully they're sleeping, but hopefully there will be no barking. So, I do apologize if that happens. I'll try to warn you guys if I see something happening. Cammy, my youngest puppy, he is a year old now. Yay, my little Aquarius baby. But he still is very reactive and overly talkative. But he also has a Virgo moon, so that's why he's talkative. And then what's so funny is he is a Virgo moon, and my dog, she is a Gemini moon. So they both have this Mercury placement in their moon that makes them. I mean, my other dog, Katie, she's very talkative as well because of that that Gemini moon, and she's a Cancer sun. Anyways, okay. Now that we've done the astrology of the pets, let's reel it back in and focus back on Substack. So back to the emails. I love that I have direct access to these emails because of Substack's platform and how they have it. So that's one of the biggest, largest reasons why I switched over into Substack. What also makes Substack so important is that it is so different from the other platforms that we've had. And so I feel like Substack, it's been around actually for a while, but it's really starting to kind of be noticed. And because of that, there's a lot of new features that are awesome for visibility. A couple of things that I love about it is that they have their own internal social media aspect. So the way that Substack first was started was it was focused on kind of like bloggers and writers. And it was just about writing and sharing your thoughts. It was for that person who loved to read and who also loved to write. But as time has gone on, they've added video components like lives. They've added the chat room feature where people can instantly talk to whoever owns the Substack directly. They've added notes, which is similar to Threads or similar to Twitter, aka X. I refuse to call it X. But anyway, similar to Twitter, which allows us to connect with other people and other writers and other content creators, and then invite them into our worlds as well. I love that feature. I love the ability to connect with a brand new audience. So even before, where it was just about writing, now it's about writing and connecting. And I really love that they've made it easier for us to connect. So my goal, honestly, when it comes to Substack is to really focus on building an engaged audience and transitioning my Instagram community over to Substack. The reason why this is so vital for me, like I said, is because I realize how fragile Instagram, TikTok, and all those other typical social media platforms are. Substack is it's turning into a social media platform. It wasn't like that before because, like I said, it was mostly focused on writing and just connecting writers and readers. And now, because of the notes feature, there is more of a social media aspect to it. But technically, you don't have to engage in that if you don't want to. It's just, I would say, vital in order to get visibility. But the other thing that I love about it is because of the fact that it is an email service, you can write your post and you can put it on the website, the Substack itself, but it also directly sends to each and every subscriber to their email. How wonderful is that? I mean, think about it. If you were to create a post on Instagram and it automatically sent an email to all, 500 of your followers or 10,000 of your followers, how much more visibility, much more engagement, much more money could you possibly make if all 10,000 of your followers or even just 300 of your followers found your work in their email? Come on. That would be amazing, right? And that's what's happening with Substack. Right now, I have 103 subscribers after only 2.5 weeks. I'm so proud of what I've created in such a short amount of time. And when I create a post, it automatically sends it as an email to my audience. And I'm seeing that my open rate is almost half. So that's really good. I mean, that's better than a newsletter. I'm getting a lot more opens, which is really great. And I'm getting more feedback and connections, and people are able to comment on said blog post or talk to me in the chat or talk to me in the comments with the podcast. In addition, I'm on a Substack podcast right now. Substack allows us to create podcasts right here in the app, which is amazing. And so that adds another component of, if you are someone who doesn't want to focus on video, then you can focus on the writing component and you can focus on the audio component. But yes, if you also want to do video, you can do live videos, you can upload videos to the chat or to the notes feature, whatever you want. You have way more options than I feel that Instagram or any other platform at this current time allows you to have. Where Instagram does allow you to write, of course, but it's much more, the captions have to be smaller. It's not a full blog post. Of course, Instagram wants you to use video. Of course, they want you to create images that keep people on the app. But at the end of the day, these days, Instagram is dictating exactly what they want you to create in order for them to push out your content to your audience. And even then, we all know that they're only pushing it out to like 1% to 2% of your audience at first. And then if it doesn't do well, they let it go. And if it does do well, they push it out even further. That is very frustrating for many content creators. And if you are listening, you probably are on that wheel right now, that rat race of feeling like I'm constantly creating content or repurposing my content and people are not seeing it. And yet they want to see it. They chose to follow you. They want to engage with you, but they cannot remember because the algorithm isn't showing you in their stories or showing you in their feed or showing you wherever. And so you're losing the attention of the people who actually want to work with you and want to be in your life. And so that's one of the reasons why I was like, Substack allows me to directly speak to my people, and anybody who is going to give me that gift, I will not take it lightly. I will go where they are. And so that's another thing. So let's talk about how I am introducing Substack to my audience. So the first thing is, I started off in the first month focusing on just soft launching. I introduced it on Instagram and introduced it on Threads. I kind of just started hinting at it. And so what I would talk about was just saying, like, I'm working on something exciting, something more exclusive, something more personal, something that I just has gotten me re-inspired again. And so I would share that in my stories. I shared that on Instagram, Threads, and in my Instagram channel, just kind of giving some like hints that something exciting is coming. Then what I did was, inside of my Instagram channel, because that is where like a lot of my more engaged followers are, I gave them the information before anyone else. So the way that I tend to spill out information, I guess, or do launches, is I share in my Instagram channel because that tends to be my most engaged followers. Then I share on my stories, which is my second most engaged followers. Then I share on Threads, which is my third most engaged followers. And then I share on my Instagram feed, because my Instagram feed doesn't really tend to convert as quickly as the other order. So I tend to give those exclusive invites to my Instagram channel and my stories the most, because I see that these are the people who typically will follow me wherever I go. And I have been on the internet since 2004. Literally, since YouTube came out, I was one of the first people that was on the platform, creating videos, creating content. I was singing my little heart out to Adele, creating Twilight videos, all the things. Like, I was doing so many funny, hilarious, cute things on there, doing videos of my cats, because cat videos were all the rage back then. I was at the beginning of, Facebook taking off, and when it was only exclusive to just college students, and I was constantly uploading all of my photos every Saturday night, trying to show people what me and my friends were doing in school. And then when Facebook Live hit, I was on that. I was like, yes, I'm going to go live. I'm going to start sharing. I was creating vlogs on YouTube and then sharing those as well to Facebook. And then once Facebook kind of died out, I transitioned over into Instagram, and I focused more on Instagram and Snapchat. But once Instagram in 2016 took the stories feature from Snapchat, I basically left Snapchat and just transitioned all the way into Instagram. So the reason I share that is, this has been my journey. I have been on the internet pretty much since it became cool. And I'm such a millennial in the fact that I grew up truly with the internet. And I love it. My Jupiter's in Aquarius, so I love community. I love technology. I just love using my skill set and communicating through the internet. So the reason I share that is because of the fact that I've been on these platforms for so long. I also can kind of feel when things are shifting. And I think some of that is intuitive and some of that is down to experience. I can feel when it's starting to shift. And I feel that happening with Instagram. And again, I think a lot of it has to do with the ban that happened with TikTok. Then also the things that are happening with Meta, where people are just feeling really disheartened by what they're hearing from Adam Mosseri and Mark Zuckerberg. They're not happy with the lack of, I'm not going to get into it. The point is, I'm sure you already know there's a lot of things that people are not happy with. And so people are wanting to move up, and I can feel that energy. So I started to introduce this other platform, but I didn't quite name it yet, as much as I was just kind of showing, like, building that curiosity. Curiosity definitely sells, honey. You got to make people want to figure out what the hell is she doing. FOMO is real. Use it to your advantage. Then I started teasing exclusive content that was only available to Substack subscribers. So here's the thing that is really awesome that I love about Substack is that it has different tiers. Currently, everything that I offer is absolutely free. However, eventually, I'm going to be offering paid options where some of my content will be behind a paywall. That will be live readings, that will be monthly full moon events, and things like that, that I'm really excited that I get to fully dive into all things spiritual and all things mystical. That will be behind the paywall, in addition to getting more personalized attention for marketing strategies using astrology that will also be eventually behind a paywall, which is awesome because now that means that you can get paid to create content. Now, that's something that TikTok started offering for pennies on the dollar, but still started offering. Something that Instagram also created was subscriptions, but you have to have 10,000 followers to get there. So this is great that with Substack, you could have as many as one follower, as long as someone is willing to pay whatever it is that they want to pledge, or whatever you've created, whether it's $5 a month, $10 a month, $100 a year, whatever it is. You want to keep it reasonable, of course. Then they can support your work. And that is amazing because it keeps you motivated and it gives you the ability, the freedom to be able to continue to make content. And, content creation is such an expensive thing. Realistically, it takes a lot of time, a lot of creativity, a lot of ingenuity. And so even though a lot of this stuff tends to be the labor that we don't see, it is an expensive hobby, creating content, or if it's for your business, and it's a very expensive part of your business. So being able to get paid for your work is amazing. So anyways, I started to create exclusive content that I am only providing to Substack subscribers, whether they be free or eventually be paid. And that started to bring people over because, for example, I've been doing my weekly readings. I usually do daily readings inside of my Instagram stories, but I've started transitioning them to my Instagram feed, to my Instagram channel, to threads and all that. Well, now I'm starting to only offer those weekly readings on my Substack. So you have to actually become a subscriber to get that. In addition to now the podcast, and I think this will always be free. The podcast will be free, but there will be exclusive episodes eventually for paying subscribers. But there will always be a free component because I just think it's really important to have that so I can maintain a relationship with you guys. That's important to me. In addition to the fact that I just really believe in this work and believe in the transformation it can provide in terms of manifestation. So I want to be able to help people understand their astrology on a personal level. So there will always be a free component, but I just love that I have that option that I can create exclusive content. Okay. So then the next part is I've started focusing on creating weekly notes, weekly newsletters that keep people engaged. This is so important, you guys. It's not enough to just create content for the sake of creating it. You need to be asking your audience questions. You need to be talking to people and uh, asking them questions, asking what's important to them, checking in on them. Um, Hold on one second. I just got a text message from my husband and I want to make sure he doesn't come home so that I mean, I want him to come home, but I don't want him to um okay, hold on. I know this is real life. Okay. So I just wanted to make sure that I send that off because that is important to me. So that way he does not walk into the door and then have all the animals going crazy. Okay, so let's get back to it. This is real life, okay? So what I've started doing is creating weekly newsletters and well, I wouldn't even say weekly notes. It's actually daily notes. I talk multiple times a day on the platforms on both Threads and Substacks. Since those are where I'm getting most of my clients these days, I'm very, very grateful for that because honestly, I used to love Instagram, but it has been such a challenge lately because of the fact that I haven't been able to get in touch with my audience on a consistent basis. I mean, my numbers are dwindling every single day. And here's the thing, well, maybe I shouldn't say my numbers are dwindling. They're not dwindling because there will be days where I will get, so like I may have a day where I literally, and this is being completely honest, I will have like 9 viewers on my stories. And I know that's a shocker, right? And then I'll have other days where it's like 300. And it's like, okay, what is going on? And I can't tell when that is going to happen. Obviously, there are specific times like holidays and things like that. When school's out, people tend to be busy and so they don't tend to be online during those times. But there are times where it's just a random Wednesday, and all of a sudden, my all of my views will go down, and I just hate it. I'm tired of that rat race. And I'm tired of having to play the game of like letting my stories expire and then coming back with a poll. Like, no, because then you could have shown my audience like and then seeing a spike in my numbers when I do something like that, then you could have been showing my audience this entire time. Like I'm not doing those. So anyways, starting to post weekly on Substack has been really great because again, it doesn't annoy my audience because they're getting direct emails from me and I'm not emailing like every 2 seconds. And two, it's also been great because unlike Instagram stories, where you're basically, for me, I have found the most success by being on Instagram stories throughout my day. And so I share. It's not that I'm on it all day long necessarily because I'm really not. I'm really on it in the afternoon mostly. The mornings are usually to myself, the evenings are also to myself, but it feels like I'm on Instagram all the time because of the timing in which I show up. But the point is that it's very different from Substack where I can just do a weekly newsletter and boom, bada bing, bada boom, I'm done. That feels nice and it feels so good on my nervous system because I'm able to relax. I also realize now by being on Substack just how much busy work I'm doing and how much time I waste by being on Instagram all day long, trying to keep up with the trends or create content for trends or things like that. I just don't want to do that. The other thing is that I encourage conversations in the chat feature. So I'll ask questions. And so this kind of leads back into what I was just saying about creating engaging content. It's really important that you create something that people want to respond to. Don't just create content that is just your thoughts. Because the truth is, nobody really cares what you think. They don't. I mean, unless you are Beyonce, people don't know you, so they don't care. You have to give them a reason to care. And one of the ways that you can do that is by showing that you care. So ask them questions. focus on what they need and create content that gives them value, so that way now they're like, ooh, this chat feature is awesome because I'm getting readings, because I'm getting inspiring videos or entertaining videos. They need to see that kind of content from you on a consistent basis that encourages them to give feedback or to come back for more. And then I'm also sharing the behind the scenes of my journey in real time, kind of like what I'm doing with Instagram stories. One of the most beautiful things about Instagram stories is you do tend to share things while it's happening. Of course, you can definitely post content after it's already happened, and you can do it, then. And I highly recommend that for things like when you're traveling and stuff like that, just to keep yourself safe. But for the most part, the way that people use stories is they use it in the moment. And that has been wonderful. However, it can also feel very overwhelming because you're constantly showing up online, or you're just, even when you're not showing up online, you're thinking about what kind of content should I create to go online. Well, Substack kind of changes that for you, because again, you're really focusing on creating something once a week, twice a week, or just occasionally, right? So that way you're not bothering people's emails so much. In addition to the fact that you have these other features like notes and chat, where it's not sending it to their email, but they can come back to you, and your audience can come and speak to you in real time. And so sharing about what's happening, what are you doing, what music are you listening to? Like, I literally wrote a note today, which, like I said, notes are similar to threads, where I just asked, what is everybody listening to? I'm listening to The Neighborhood. And then people were like, I haven't heard that band in so long. I used to love them, and blah, blah. This is what I'm listening to, and blah, blah. I kept it short, kept it simple, but it invited new people into my world. And that question invited people to share what's going on in their life. And something as simple as that, not related to astrology, not related to business, but it's just related to being a human, attracts people into my world. And so I want to encourage you to do the same thing. Okay, so then month two, which is the month that I'm currently in, I've been now promoting my Substack for about a month. And well, not about a month, I'm sorry, it's been 2.5 weeks. So it's like almost well, no, has it been? Okay, let me see. I think it's been 2.5 weeks since I've started promoting it. There you go. So that's where that was. But in terms of moving into month two, what I'm focusing on is sharing weekly snippets of what's happening on Substack on my social media. So again, taking some of the work that I've created, everything starts at Substack. I create the post, I create the note, all of that, or the podcast, and I put it on Substack first. Then I move it into threads or Instagram or whatever I create. And one of the coolest things that I love about Substack, I keep saying coolest, but it's all just so cool. One of the coolest things that I love about Substack is it creates the shareable images and video for me. So a lot of those videos that you guys see of me recording and filming the podcast, I didn't edit that. Substack did it for me. It literally pulls out content while I'm talking and creates these sound bites or creates images that I can then share and post on Substack or Instagram or wherever other platforms. It literally makes it easy for me to post it to Facebook, wherever, which is awesome. So I started sharing those weekly snippets of Substack posts all over my social media to invite people to come on over. Then I've also started nurturing my community by continuing to build in interactive chat discussions, asking deeper questions, inviting people to share with me, what is your big three? What is your favorite placement inside of your birth chart? Asking them a little bit more in-depth questions, encouraging conversation, and that has been very helpful. I've really enjoyed learning from my audience what they need and who they are as well, and then creating content around that. Also, using polls and open-ended questions that encourage people to reply is also a huge part of how I'm building my audience, is by asking open-ended questions. If you ask somebody things like, is it raining? Yes or no? That doesn't encourage conversation, right? But if you say something more around, tell me when's the last time that it rained in your neighborhood or that it snowed in your neighborhood. That is an open-ended question, and it invites more discussion. So lead with that. Um, let's see. And then, as I'm like, for me, what I think is working so far is, I think, definitely sharing my story, doing things like this, sharing the journey as it's happening. I'm really grateful for that. I've always been somebody that has shared things as they happen. I don't wait until I'm at the top of the mountain before I start offering advice to other people. Just because, for example, someone could look at me and go, okay, she only has 100 followers. Like, what is she doing? But someone who only has five is looking at me and going, how did she do it? Right. So I'm encouraging those people, and I'm learning from the people who have 10,000 subscribers, and, continuing to kind of follow whatever things that they are doing or being inspired by what they're creating, while I also then create my own rules and then share that out to you and everyone else. So I definitely think being transparent, being vulnerable has always been a huge success for me. But I also think some of that is because of my birth chart. Not I think, I know it's because of my birth chart. I have to lead with vulnerability because of that moon in the eighth house, honey. She is distinct, and I have to be that. And then storytelling is important to me, sharing those stories, sharing who I am. And it's just easier for me to share my story, because, obviously, but storytelling is important because of my Leo moon in particular. Okay. And then month 3, that is when I'm officially going to be making Substack my main platform. This is when now I'm going to be telling my audience that Substack is now my primary home, and that if you want to stay in touch with me, you need to be following me on Substack. It doesn't mean that I won't be showing up on Instagram. Like I said at the top of the show, I will still be showing up on Instagram. Well, I don't know, as it stands right now. I plan to still be showing up on Instagram. It's just, it will be far less. And my Instagram will still be present. I don't plan to delete it or anything like that. It's just, it may not be as active. And I'm very excited about that moment because there's so many things: carousel posts, static posts, lives, reels, stories, IG channels. There's so many different things to pay attention to on Instagram. And as wonderful as that used to be for me, because I felt like I could creatively express myself in so many different forms, which I loved, now it's becoming overwhelming. And part of it is because Instagram is demanding what we use instead of letting us use what works. You know what I mean? So, for example, my audience may love carousel posts but hate reels. But because they're pushing reels, I have to focus on reels, even though my audience may love carousel posts and I may love creating carousel posts. And right now, actually, it's the other way around. Carousel posts are having like a renaissance right now, and reels are not. But I like creating reels more than I like creating carousel posts. So it kind of stinks that I can't, it's not that I can't choose it. I can, but if I really want visibility, I have to play the game. And I'm done. I'm so done. Listen, I'm about to be 40 years old. I'm done. I put in my time. And I know you're probably like, wait, what did she say? She's going to be 40? Yeah, I am. I know it's crazy the way that this happens. It just creeps up on you. So it's just weird. So anyway, so basically what I'll be doing is eventually adjusting my Instagram to funnel people over to my Substack. I'll change my bio, which already it's in my bio currently, but in that third month, when I really establish Substack as my primary home, I'm going to make sure that in my bio that I'm pushing people, instead of pushing people to book a discovery call with me or to book a reading with me, I'm going to push them over to Substack. And then the Substack is where I will invite people to book readings with me, and Threads. I also plan to stay on Threads. I know it's still part of Meta, but it's not as overwhelming as Instagram has been, because it's really just a writing form. And I really have enjoyed that. And this is also another reason I love Substack. If you do not want to do video, you don't have to. You can just write. And if you happen to be a really great writer, which I'm shouting at Gemini placements, Virgo placements, anyone who has a lot of third house stelliums or ninth house stelliums, I see you. I see you. The Virgos out there, sixth house stelliums, I see you. So, with that being said, you probably enjoy writing, and you might find that it's actually easier for you to write and create in that way. So, if that's the case, then Substack is perfect for you. Then the next step is that what I want to start doing is, after I start adjusting my funnel from Instagram to Substack, the other thing is I want to start offering like events and exclusive events for paid subscribers, like live Q&As, free trainings, free trainings for the free subscribers, and then live Q&As probably for like paid subscribers, Zoom calls, full moon circles, things like that. And yes, and also this podcast, there'll be some episodes that are exclusive to paid subscribers, where maybe I'm diving a little deeper into the birth chart, maybe offering readings on a podcast episode, but keep that exclusive for paying subscribers. Like, I am really excited about what this is going to build into and look like. And it's just going to be easier because I'm not expected to be producing content all the time. And that is what I love about Substack, is that I'm able to create content and then just refocus on repurposing said content throughout the week and sharing it through notes, sharing it through the chat, and just focusing on just creating and talking to my people. And that's it. And my people get to see it, which is important, right? So yeah, I haven't launched a paid tier yet, but probably in month 3, I will start to launch that. I want to focus on building out a lot of content first. That's going to be important to me, is just making sure that I have a lot of content and that I show my audience the kinds of content that they can expect from me. So that way, when I do transition into a paid subscriber list, those people are like, ooh, I want to continue to get that content. So I feel like you can start with a subscription service right off the bat if you have a very loyal audience already that like, especially if you're coming from like a membership already, and or you already, like, the goal is a unique membership, then totally follow the rules. Like, I mean, not follow your rules and follow your intuition. Do what works for you. But for me, I'm kind of taking it a little, it's not slow because it's 3 months, but I'm taking my time so that I can really create what I want to create without feeling the pressure to perform. Because once you put that money up, girl, you know what I mean? It changes things a little bit. And then here's the thing as well, the mindset shift that I've needed to change for my content. When you're on Instagram, everything is about creating content all the time. Like, it's just nonstop. And I feel like that has been very profitable for me, but also very overwhelming for my nervous system, which I know nervous system is, a buzzword these days, but it's true. It overwhelms me. And I think, as someone who has ADHD, I'm good at being able to multitask all the different expectations, but I can't say that it's healthy for me. And I think the older I get, and I don't mean that I'm getting too old for social media, because I don't think I will be 80 years old and still on social media. Okay, so relax. But I told you my Jupiter's in Aquarius. But the point is that the older I get, the more I just want to keep some parts of my life to myself. And I feel like with Instagram, because it's so demanding, because it's so demanding, I end up feeling like I have to share so much in order to be successful. And the fact that Substack and Threads allows me to be seen, to directly connect to my audience, to be successful without having to constantly be, entertaining all day long, it's nice, and so that feels really, really good. And I have other, things that I'm trying to work on as well in my personal life, and I'm very excited about, and I'll talk more about that as well here on Substack over time. But I am excited about the future, and I don't necessarily want to, whereas before, when I first started my business, I was mainly obsessed with just focusing on just building the business. But now I'm married, I'm thinking about babies. There's other things now that I'm as excited about as astrology and building my business. And so I want to make sure that I have more of a work-life balance. And Substack really encourages that, as opposed to Instagram. If you disappear for too long, you get thrown completely out of the algorithm. If you're too present, then you also get kind of thrown out of the algorithm too. So you have to, it doesn't encourage a work-life balance to me. I don't think so, because again, you have to find that sweet spot, and you don't know what the sweet spot is. And that creates a frenzy that I don't like. But I love that with Substack, it's allowed me to have to learn to be very intentional with the content that I'm creating, because I'm only going to do it once or twice a week. And also to, as opposed to every day or twice a day, or even for those people who are like, well, I'm not on Instagram stories every single day and I'm not creating content every single day. Okay, but maybe you're creating content 3 or 4 times a week, and different kinds of content. Maybe you're creating a carousel post, and then a static post, and then it going live, and then an Instagram reel, and then an Instagram story. So although you may not be online every moment of every day, you're still online quite a bit, because you need to show up in order to promote your content. And that gets exhausting. And so it's been nice to have this shift internally, where now it's like, oh, less is more. Oh, it feels amazing. I'm really enjoying that. So my final kind of advice for others as you start on Substack is, number one, Substack is a different platform. It's a new platform, and it's not new, but it's new, it's becoming more new, it's becoming more known. Give yourself, this is the long game a little bit, you know what I mean? So give yourself time to learn the platform and all of that. The more you show up, the faster the journey goes. The more you create content, the faster the journey goes. The more you build relationships with your people, the faster the journey goes. But the point is that it isn't necessarily going to be something where automatically you're making money, you're doing this, you're doing that. It's going to take time and relationships. Now, it doesn't mean taking a long time. I've been able to actually get clients within 2.5 weeks. So it doesn't have to take a long time, but I compare it to things like Instagram stories, where sometimes back in the day anyway, Instagram stories would be days. Someone would find me, and then that same day or the next day, they would book a discovery call with me. And then the next week, they're a client of mine. That journey now on Instagram stories for me has been much longer. I'm noticing that people can be following me for like a year or 6 months before they book a call. Threads, the journey is a lot shorter. I have definitely noticed that within days, someone will find me, they'll book a call with me, and then they hire me. And with Substack, it's kind of like, again, that long game where it's kind of, and when I say long, it's relative, because this is still pretty quick, but I just want you to not expect it to be like, okay, I'm going to jump on Substack and I'm going to make a sale immediately. It's probably not going to happen that way. You're going to need to create content. It's kind of, it's starting over in a sense. When you started with Instagram, granted, none of us started Instagram, well, maybe not none of us, but most of us who started in 2010, 2011 did not start Instagram with the thinking that we were going to create businesses on this platform. But the point being is that we are, it's starting over. So you have to recreate content. And what I would encourage you to do is repurpose a lot of the content that you've already made. Take some of those captions and then elaborate more on what you're trying to say, or change the caption altogether. Like, use it as a stepping stone, because maybe the last time you wrote that caption, you were in a different headspace. Now you've learned something different. and now you can show something different. So, repurpose your content, but just know that, again, it's going to take some time because you're recreating you're rebuilding a new world. Also, focus on outward engagement. This is important, you guys, is you have to engage with other people. The mistake that I see people make when a new platform hits, whether we're talking about, I think it was Clubhouse, and Be Real and all these other platforms, I think what people make the mistake of doing is they focus on themselves. But guess what? Most people don't care about you. They don't, I mean, and I say that with love. But most people are not going, you know what I want? I want to listen to Lexi talk about her life. They don't care because they don't know me. But what they do care about is when I'm offering them tips on something that they need to know, when I'm sharing stories on something that they need to learn, then they care. You're here because you want to know how to build on Substack, right? So of course, yes, I'm going to share my story on how I'm doing it, but the point is that the focus is on you, right? And that's important. So when you come to Substack, go to other people's notes and actually respond to those notes. When people are asking questions, answer them. When people are saying, like, share your story, share your story. When people are writing Substacks, please read those Substacks and then leave thoughtful, realistic, authentic comments. That is one of the things that I'm known for, is my sincerity in my comments. And it's because I actually read or watch or engage with the content. I actually watch the reel all the way through before I comment. I read the caption, which, if you are somebody who reads the captions on Instagram, you belong on Substack because you, again, are a reader. But this is where it's like, when you engage with people's content, that is going to encourage them to come back and engage with yours. So please remember, outward engagement. That is how I've been able to grow so fast on Threads, so fast on Substack, is by making sure that I'm going out every day, reading and watching and engaging and talking to other people. I'm in people's chat rooms. I'm offering tips. I'm offering advice, whatever. And that builds trust. People start going, oh, this Lexi girl is in this chat room like every day. Who is she? What's her Substack? What is she doing? Right? Or this Lexi girl is in my notes all the time, giving me astrology advice or things like that. What's her Substack about? Right? Now they're coming to me, but I had to first go out to them. It's kind of like going to a party. You can go into the party and you can stand close to the wall and pray that somebody comes to you. Or you can go into the party and be like, hey, bitches. I'm just kidding. But anyway, you can be like, hey, I'm here. My name is Lexi. Nice to meet you. And the more that you actually put yourself out there and engage with people, the more that they will appreciate that effort and return the favor. All right. So I want to say thank you so much for tuning in, especially because this was a longer episode. I really want to try to keep some of my episodes down to like 30 minutes or so. But, sometimes you got to talk. And this one, I also just wanted to make sure that you get everything that you needed in order to get started. I'm so grateful that it looks like we've been able to get through this whole thing without Cammie going crazy and without my husband coming home and making the dogs go crazy. So I'm so proud of that. But thanks so much for tuning in. I want to invite you to, of course, subscribe to my Substack if you haven't already done so. Just check the description down below and you can join me there. Again, everything is free at this time. And so you'll be able to engage and chat in the chat rooms, leave comments, read all the materials that I'm creating, listen to every episode. But eventually, it probably, like I said, in month 3, I will offer a paid option, but there will always be free stuff here. So please note that there will always be free stuff here. So definitely subscribe. If you know someone who loves astrology, who loves social media, who loves social media marketing and content marketing, then I want to encourage you to share this episode out, especially if you know that they are trying to look for another avenue outside of Instagram, or they're curious about Substack. Then this is definitely the episode that I want to encourage you to share if you have found this to be very helpful. And then let me know in the description. You can go ahead and click in the chat room feature, what do you want to know about growing on Substack? Ask me questions. And then in the future, I can go ahead and create another episode directly answering your questions about how to grow on Substack, how to nurture your audience and build real relationships that turn into conversions, that turn into money, that turn into actual joyful, connected conversations, like real conversations with people. And that feels good too. I mean, remember when we first got on Threads and it was like everybody found their people? It was so easy to find people who loved Agatha all along, and so easy to find, anybody that musicians or other Reiki practitioners or other astrologers. It was so easy. And it still is, because Threads is still pretty new. But that's what Substack is experiencing right now. So there's this resurgence of people coming in where you can find your audience. So if you're wanting to figure that out, then definitely ask me in the chat room, ask me any questions that you have. And I thank you so much for tuning in. I will see you guys all in the next episode. Bye.